Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tombstone Tourist. This week, I'm once again going back into the archives and posting a video that I made when I was first considering creating this channel. The quality is very shaky and not really up to par, and I really didn't think that it would ever see the light of day. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, I haven't been able to edit or post any of my more recent videos. So here's a video that I recorded back in October of 2017 during my visit to the birthplace of George Washington at Pope's Creek in Westmoreland County, Virginia. It was here on this site that George Washington was born on February 22nd, 1732. The future president lived here for only 3 years, but returned here often during his lifetime. The birth house remained in the Washington family until 1779, when it was destroyed by fire on Christmas Day. The exact location of the house was claimed by time and remained hidden for over 150 years. But in the early 20th century, the foundation of the original home was located. Today, the oyster shell fragments that we see here mark the outline of the original birth home. In 1923, it was decided that a memorial home and outbuildings would be created here at the birth site. Back in 1923, the memorial house and other structures that were thought to represent what the plantation at Pope's Creek looked like back in 1732. But after years of research, we know now that the structures we see here today bear little resemblance to the 1732 plantation. The plantation located here on Pope's Creek is less than a mile from the creek's confluence with the Potomac River. The creek and the property were named after Nathaniel Pope, who, in the winter of 1656 and 1657, met an English tobacco trader named John Washington. Washington, whose ship had recently sank during a storm, decided to remain in Virginia and eventually married Nathaniel's daughter, Anne. John became a successful farmer and acquired hundreds of acres along Pope's Creek, and over the years the property would eventually pass to other members of his immediate family. In the early 1700s, the property passed to his grandson, Augustine Washington. Augustine decided to build a new home here on the site that we're visiting today. There's no known documented description of that house, but research shows that it was probably a modest and simple structure, nothing like the memorial house that we see here today. The outbuildings, including a kitchen, stable, smokehouse, and servants' quarters, are nothing like the buildings that stood here in 1732. Since the foundation of the original house was discovered in the early part of the 20th century, the foundations of some of the outbuildings have also been uncovered as a result of the extensive research that has gone on here at Pope's Creek over the years. It took me about an hour to tour the memorial house and grounds. Park rangers are available and are more than happy to answer your questions not only about the property, but about the Washington family who lived here both before and after the future president's birth. Just about a mile from the birthplace and memorial home is the Washington Family Cemetery. The cemetery that I'm visiting today bears no resemblance to the cemetery that George Washington visited back in the 1700s. The original vaults that contained the remains of the Washington family had caved in and were in great disrepair. In the 1930s, the remains were removed from the original vault, placed in a single casket, and reinterred in a new vault that we're visiting here today. As you walk down the path leading to the cemetery, you will pass several storyboards that will detail the history of the Pokes Creek Plantation, along with the original Washington family burying ground and the cemetery that we see here today. If you want to read these storyboards, please feel free to pause the video. Some of the information is quite interesting. According to the information that I received from the National Park Service during my tour of the Memorial Home and Grounds, this cemetery is the final resting place of George Washington's great-grandfather John, his grandfather Lawrence Washington, and his father and mother, Augustine and Mary Ball Washington. It is believed that as many as 29 other Washington family members are buried here. This memorial crypt stands in memory of Lawrence Washington, who was George Washington's grandfather. As many as 29 Washington family members, including George Washington's mother, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, are buried in a single coffin, interred below this family crypt at the center of the cemetery. Just a short walk from the cemetery, and you're standing on the banks of the Potomac River, which is a good place to end this video. As always, I hope if you haven't already done so that you'll ring that bell and subscribe. And if you're so inclined, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Now, until next time, please remember, life is a wonderful journey. Be sure to take time and enjoy it. And I'll see you down the road. So long, everybody.